Thank you so much for joining us for today's Bible reading. If you've been with us, we've been in a series called The King's Cross, looking what it means that Jesus, the King of the universe, would sacrifice himself, humble himself, and take up his cross, and what that means for us in wanting to follow and be like him. And this weekend, I'll be preaching about the upside down nature of the cross, the really upside down nature of God's kingdom, that in God's kingdom, it can look like you're losing, but you're actually winning. Now, I've been a fan of Star Trek most of my life. I started watching Star Trek when I was 11 years old, and I love it. All shows, all iterations, all movies. And in the 2009 reboot of Star Trek that introduced us to different versions of kind of the original crew, there's this great scene between James Kirk and Captain Pike. In this version, Kirk's dad actually died, sacrificed his life so that his son, James Kirk, might live. And Kirk's having this conversation with Captain Pike, and Captain Pike says that Kirk's dad didn't believe in no-win scenarios, to which Kirk replies, well, he really learned his lesson. And Captain Pike responds, well, that really depends on how you define winning. You're here, aren't you? And so much of our lives and the contentment and the satisfaction that we have really comes from how we define winning. And I think the Bible gives us some clear understanding of what it really looks like to win and what real winning looks like. And so let's take a look at our passage, Isaiah 53, beginning in verse 4. It says this: "Surely he who took up our pain and bore our suffering, yet we considered him punished by God, stricken by him and afflicted. But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed. We all like sheep have gone astray, each of us has turned to our own way, and the Lord has laid on him the iniquity of us all. He was oppressed and afflicted, yet he did not open his mouth. He was led like a lamb to the slaughter, and as a sheep before its shearers is silent, so he did not open his mouth. By oppression and judgment he was taken away, yet who of his generation protested? For he was cut off from the land of the living. For the transgression of my people he was punished. He was assigned a grave with the wicked and with the rich in his death, though he had done no violence, nor was any deceit in his mouth. Yet it was the Lord's will to crush him and cause him to suffer. And though the Lord makes his life an offering for sin, he will see his offspring and prolong his days, and the will of the Lord will prosper in his hand. After he has suffered, he will see the light of life and be satisfied. By his knowledge, my righteous servant will justify many, and he will bear their iniquities. Therefore, I will give him a portion among the great, and he will divide the spoils with the strong, because he poured out his life unto death and was numbered with the transgressors. For he bore the sin of many and made intercession for the transgressors." So this passage is written hundreds of years before Jesus was ever born. And during that time, from the time it was written to the time that Jesus was born, it became known as a prophecy, looking forward towards the Messiah, God's chosen one who had come and set everything right. Yet in this passage, we see that this chosen one is beaten, he's oppressed, he's led like a lamb to the slaughter, he's killed. If this is what it means to be God's chosen one, then I'd prefer not to be chosen. Like, pick me last, like when I was playing dodgeball. In the end, though, this servant is shown the light of life. He justifies many. He receives a portion of the great and spoils of victory. This chosen one, even though it looks like he was losing, in God's kingdom is actually winning. And so we look at our lives, like how much of our contentment, of our desire to keep going, of our happiness is based upon our definition of winning. James Kirk's dad thought that winning meant keeping his son alive. For the servant in Isaiah 53, who is Jesus, winning meant spending his life to justify others. Because even though Jesus was beaten and rejected and murdered, every onlooker, it looked like Jesus was losing, but Jesus won because of what he did on behalf of others. For Jesus, winning wasn't about being the best or doing what was best for himself, but winning ultimately came down to what he could do for other people. And so often we think that winning is about what we can accomplish or we can gather or we can garner for ourselves. But winning is really about what we can do for others. And this concept definitely goes against our Western culture that says winning is the most important thing and being number one is the most important thing. But that all depends on how we define winning. Will we let our definition of winning come from the culture in which we live, or the Savior who invites us to follow him? Because for Jesus, winning meant spending his life in service to others, ultimately giving up his life, dying on our behalf. And if we really, really want to win in life, truly win, then we might have to redefine what winning means for us. Does winning mean getting whatever we want or helping to meet the needs of others? Does winning mean having all the power in our society and using that for our own benefit, or sharing it so that we might see justice and equality for everyone? Does winning mean always being first, or does actual winning look like helping somebody who might have fallen behind? And in your everyday life, what is winning? What does winning look like for your family, for your friends, for those you live with? Maybe winning today means just thinking of somebody else before you think of yourself, placing the needs of another person above your own. Could you define winning as going out of your way to serve someone else instead of looking to your own needs? We're given the choice, the opportunity every day to choose winning in God's kingdom. And even though we may not be first, even though we may be looking to needs of somebody else, even though from the outside it may look like we're actually losing, because winners don't take care of other people, winners don't place the needs of others above our own. It may look like we're losing, but in God's kingdom, when we place the needs of others above our own, we are actually winning. So how can you be a winner today and place the needs of someone else above your own? Thank you so much for joining me this morning. I really appreciate it. If you're watching this on Tuesday, November 10th, and you are the parent or you are a student, we're having in-person youth group tonight on Tuesday, November 10th. Very excited about that. Outdoors, masks, distance, all the great stuff, but really looking forward to that. And this coming weekend, Sunday, November 15th, we are kicking off our outdoor in-person service on Sunday mornings. You can join us for that at 10:30 in the courtyard. Really, really excited about the opportunity to gather together and to do that safely. Thank you guys so much for joining. Have a great week. Talk to you real soon.